Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. So if you didn't know that I am a poet, I'm telling you now, I am. Um, Here's something I didn't know. I didn't know that April was National Poetry Month according to the Academy of American Poets. They established this month as their National Poetry Month back in 1996 to appreciate poetry. And I appreciate poetry, but not very often. I mean, it was a coincidence. I found out today and I was wearing this shirt. I'm not the real Slim Shady. Obviously. But this is a brand new t-shirt and I love it so much, and I've just been like indulging by buying like more Eminem stuff, and he's a phenomenal poet himself, so I'm gonna just do what brings me joy because this is Love Powered Up. My name is Nandini, and I am a certified life coach, and I help people in their 20s and 30s, and especially creatives, live their dream life. You know, get rid of self doubt and obstacles. And one of the biggest obstacles for me in life, I kind of broke it when I self published this poetry book back in 2022. I didn't really talk about it very much. I don't even know if I've ever mentioned this on my channel. Hi there, it's me. I realized I never told you the name of my poetry book, and by the way, you're gonna see me pop up again very soon. But the name of the book is Prayers of the Dying Undead. Prayers of the Dying Undead. Available on quite a few platforms, but soon in the description. I'm going to be creating a free ebook version of this book. I've selected a poem based on conversations I've had recently on impermanence. So I'm going to read you one piece from my poetry book, and then related to that theme, also talk about one Eminem song. And then we're going to also get into two poems which are currently in the public domain, right? They're copyright free. So I must interrupt myself again because I am a victim of my own stupidity, foolish trust in AI, lack of due diligence. There are two segments of poems we'll be discussing today. However, when I originally recorded this just straight up on whim, as soon as I'd found out about this being Poetry Month, I just searched for some poems on this theme of aging and changing without actually double checking to see whether the poets were right or wrong. So I'm going to keep interrupting to make sure that we get the right information. Although, to be honest, in this digital world where everything I'm accessing currently is online, except I also don't. And you will see that in the video, right? But with so many things we access online, who's to even say what really is real and what isn't? But as long as we're here to trust, let's at least try to be accurate. So I'll also be sharing lines from a poem called Youth and Age by an English romantic poet named Samuel Taylor Coleridge. And this poem first appeared in 1832. But according to literary-devices.net, it said that some of the lines in this poem took almost Wait, that doesn't make any sense. It says almost 7 to 5 years to write? Shouldn't it be 5 to 7 years to write? Are these websites just getting everything from AI? Okay, well, at least it's comforting to know that I'm not the only one who likes to rewrite things, and not everything happens always perfectly in a flow state. I think especially the more I'm employing creativity as a practice, you know, the less I'm able to just always tap into source and have my pen flow. So it's comforting to know that some of these lines, even by these great poets or poets who had their works published long back, those lines took time to get right, and there were versions that were published and republished. That's so good to know. So we're going to be looking at some lines from Youth and Age by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and we shall also look at the last 6 lines by a poem by Alfred Lord Tennyson. But first, here's one of my own. So, this is just a bit of fun. This is just a little bit of poetry appreciation. Let's get into it. I've named this piece The Only Truth. I feel very nervous reading this out loud. But here we go. The fallen flowers litter the path. I don't see their beauty, nor do I stamp them down further under the soles of my dirty shoes. They've fallen. They had their moment in beautiful bloom. They shone their attractive guise of being wild, natural, carefree, irrepressible beauty, haphazard, spontaneous magic. Then they fell, or were made to fall, kicked, picked, plucked, if too beautiful, once they had stopped being so small. Drying by their tips and edges, losing their youth, they droop. Their job was to fall in the end, and the eventual end of all things, change, is the only truth. I remember that I was in such a flow state when I wrote virtually every poem in this little tiny book. And when I used to walk up to my house in Dharamshala, there were these gorgeous purple and fuchsia flowers I'd never seen anywhere before. If I hadn't seen them with my own eyes, I would have thought they were science fiction, just like unbelievable colors, just naturally blooming. And I would see them just fallen on the path. And there were like a bunch of stairs there. So, there were like houses and on the slope and the entire slope on the side of the, road, there were just a bunch of stairs and people would, trample on these flowers. So when I looked at those flowers, these words just sort of came out. And as I wrote them, it was only when I was reviewing these poems to compile into this, when I looked back at this poem and I thought, oh my gosh, this is actually it's about youth. It's not even about flowers. If anything, I now read it as the flowers being representative of young women, especially. These really beautiful, talented, magical, spontaneous, wild, free young women, or even teenagers. And when people have that magic, that vibrance, quite often they're just not aware of it. They're just they're living so free, so spontaneously, so imaginatively. It's so wonderful to witness. And then the world comes and pokes and prods and tries to dull their shine. And I think that's what really ages us. That's what makes us lose our magic and our spark. And it is something that this year, over the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 months especially, I have really been having a hard time with, is seeing my body aging in ways that are not just like cosmetic. You can see my white hairs here. Like I know that that's going to continue. I know it very soon. I'm going to be completely and all gray. But the thing that broke me back in December was I had a knee issue. It was slightly painful. My right knee, I remember, was slightly painful. And it just created this breakdown in me because I just felt like, oh my gosh, why am I older, fatter, uglier? Like I just felt defeated defeated by my biology and everything. um and that, I think, leads us to the Eminem song, which I think is on a similar theme, and it's very actually on the nose. I'm very literal about things, even though this poem seems to be in a complete allegory or a metaphor, right? An analogy. But the poem, not the poem, the song that I would say is related to these themes of aging and changes is a song called Going Through Changes, off of Recovery, I believe. Eminem's 2010 album, Recovery. I think I have that album. Let me bring it. Here it is, Recovery. It is track number 6, Going Through Changes. I hope you can see it right there. Going Through Changes, track 6. Wow, I remember buying this CD when I came from Yemen to India for a few months. Probably the worst period of my entire life was that time. This is what the CD looks like, by the way. And this is the other album cover. And then you also have this album cover right here. So let me actually go to that page. Oh, the album art, bro. This gives me so much joy. Why have I not been looking at this? Oh, gosh. Love the way you're alive, you're never over. Oh, we got some really, really good songs here. Cold wind blows, talking to myself, on fire, won't back down, white trash party. There we go, going through changes. You've got the entire lyrics right here on the flap. And then, of course, some lovely pictures of Eminem. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Oh, there's so many things that I own that just bring me joy. I just don't pay much attention to them, sadly, most of the time. The song's called Going Through Changes, and of course, it's about going through changes. And there's this one line in particular. I now I gotta find it again. But you know what? Before recording this, I listened to that song just once to make sure it was the right song. And it absolutely was the right song. They're so good. The lyrics are so good. I try and hide it, but I can't. Why do I act like I'm all high and mighty when inside I'm dying? I'm finally realizing I need help. I can't do it myself. Too weak. 2 weeks I've been having ups and downs, going through peaks and valleys, dilly-dallying around with the idea of ending this shit right here. I'm hating my reflection. I walk around the house trying to fight mirrors. I can't stand what I look like. Yeah, I look fat, but what do I care? Like I give a fuck. The only thing I fear is Haley. I'm afraid if I close my eyes that I might see her. Shit, you know. I had like an odd thought about what he says here, and even like as soon as he said that, it made me think, maybe that's the reason why people say, you know, people in their early 20s should have kids, because having kids, ideally speaking, gives you a reason to live and carry on with life. Because the things that I've been going through these days, as soon as I am currently stepping out of my comfort zone, that is such a scary place that I've been going through peaks and valleys myself. This song is so good. So good. I don't even listen to Eminem anymore. But that is a good song, okay? I mean, I'm coming back. I'm guess who's back? Is me. Okay? I'm coming back to good hip hop. I think. Maybe. Maybe. All right. So, without further ado, let's get into our 2 pieces of public domain poetry. So you're gonna have 2 of us for this, so bear with us. The 2 versions of Nandini. The first poem here, as I mentioned, is by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, called Youth and Age. Here it is. Verse. A breeze mid blossoms straying, where hope clung feeding like a bee. Both were mine. Life went a maying with nature, hope, and posy. When I was young. When I was young? Ah, woeful when? Ah, for the change twixt now and then. This breathing house not built with hands, this body that does me grievous wrong. O'er airy cliffs and glittering sands, how lightly then it flashed along. Like those trim skiffs, unknown of yore, on winding lakes and rivers wide, that ask no aid of sail or oar, that fear no spite of wind or tide. Not cared this body for wind or weather, when youth and I lived in't together. Flowers are lovely, love is flower-like, friendship is a sheltering tree. Oh, the joys that came down shower like of friendship, love, and liberty. Ere I was old, ere I was old? Ah, woeful ear, which tells me youth's no longer here. O youth, for years so many and sweet, 'tis known that thou and I were one. I'll think it but a fond conceit. It cannot be that thou art gone. I shall pause over here. This is merely the first 3 out of 5 verses. There's going to be a link to a blog post in the description where you'll be able to read the entire poem. There is this website called the Poetry Foundation, and that's where I've been reading it from. So I'll put a link to the Poetry Foundation's website where you can read the full poem as well. Now, the reason why I like this poem so much when I was like looking up poetry around these themes is because it talks about when I was young. Wait, when I was young? Yes, when I was young, and it has those natural elements that I felt like my poem also had. Like there's so much youth in nature. Nature teaches me so much about the process of like having to shed and taking time to rest and recover, and not every fruit will be eaten. There are certain runts that fall to the ground, and that's what they're meant for. And I think this poem is just it just feels good. It just feels good. Where hope clung feeding like a bee, both were mine. It leaves a lot to sit with. And what I think I sit with this poem is my own realizations. I feel like this poem has done the job of just giving a little like splash of stimuli, like it's just splashed me with this like youthful, natural imagery to see and then just sit with what I feel. I feel a lot. Okay. All right. So the next and last piece here is actually Ulysses by Alfred Lord Tennyson. According to another extremely reliable website called Wikipedia.com, this poem was actually written in 1833 and published in 1842. So that was a 9-year gap between the actual writing of the poem and publishing it, which also makes me feel good as a creative who's like in the process of creating, but never knowing when the next thing's going to come out. And according to litcharts.com, which is a great website for anyone who's studying poetry, so this poem was actually quite significant in Lord Tennyson's life because his closest friend, Arthur Hallam, had died in 1833. We may be familiar with the Ulysses of the Odyssey by Homer. I'm not actually very familiar with the Odyssey. And still, I feel this poem is phenomenal. And I'm just going to be reading the last 6 lines, I believe, of this poem. They are so powerful, and once again, I urge you to click the link in the description below to actually read the entire poem. It's not actually that long. It is nowhere near as long as the Odyssey, duh. So go ahead and do that. Though much is taken, much abides. And though we are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, one equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. This is a good poem. This is a good poem. Oh gosh. I'm going to read it again. Though much is taken, much abides. Oh, that's enough to make me cry. And though we are not that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, we are. I'm on a journey of self-acceptance, and it is tricky, man. It is tricky to accept myself when I don't seem to even like who I am to who I was, you know? I'm no longer comparing myself to anyone else or anything unrealistic, but I sometimes I'm just like, damn, like why do you look like this now? Like what happened, bro? Oh gosh, you know, and my brain power is weaker and oh gosh, I love this. I love this poem. I love this poem. That which we are, we are. One equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. I'm going to leave this here. If you've watched to this point, tell me what you think of these four things: the poem that I shared, which was mine, Eminem's song, and these two poems as well. I think my favorite one is probably the one by Alfred Lord Tennyson. I feel like I could write essays on it. I could study this. I could. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. 1842, and yet here we all are going through the same things in this human life. That's the magic of poetry. A week or so ago, I watched Bridgerton for the first time in my life while I was procrastinating on my own life. And in that, you know, they were talking about poetry both in season two and in season three. But there was this one line, I think it says, I think it was Benedict Bridgerton who said, poetry is the art of revealing precious truth with words. I thought that was so true and so good. Poetry is the art of revealing precious truth with words. That's it. So it's been quite a few days now since I recorded that bit there. And I've actually started recording the second episode as well. And about a year or so ago, I had a sort of podcast on this channel called This Time with Feeling. I was just doing it very intuitively. But now I actually want to create a series of sort of a mixture of poetry and music based off of feelings. And I'm actually quite excited on curating these things as and when the feelings start to rise up and sprout up, right? So if you're interested, please do subscribe to stay tuned. And I may even have some special guests come on with pieces of their own poetry, if they are poets or writers, but as well as that, songs, because music moves us like nothing else. Music, I believe, is the closest thing we have to magic. Wishing you a very magical day or night ahead, afternoon, whatever time it is. My name is Nandini, and thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.